Nice meeting you too.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We thank all of you for being with us today. All of you play a vital role in not only our communities, but many communities that are represented here this morning. And certainly on behalf of our school board and our technology department and all of our school communities, we welcome you to Wise County. We're very excited to share with you what we think offers a real breakthrough in providing broadband to those families that are unserved or underserved in our communities. We're excited to have with us a number of special guests. I started to do a list, and it became apparent that everyone here is a special guest, and we certainly, again, thank you for being with us. We have many city, town, county governments represented here this morning, a lot of different communities in the surrounding area. We certainly would like to thank Congressman Griffin for taking time out of his busy schedule to be with us. Of course, we have representatives from Senator Pillion's office, as well as Delegate Kilgore, John, and Tyler. We thank them for being with us, and certainly our county administrator. Just so many people that have an interest in doing good things for our families and our students. For a number of years, we have worked as a county school system to close the digital divide, and certainly the pandemic has exacerbated that for all of us. And for 45 of our families, we were able to somewhat close that divide and offer them broadband, for many of them for the first time at their residence. And so we're excited, and we hope that we can grow this program. And we know that it not just this effort, it will take all of us bringing to the table as many resources as we possibly can to make sure that all of our families are served to the best of our ability. At this time, I'm going to ask Dr. Scott Kaiser, our Director of Technology, to come forward and share this remarkable journey with you that we've been on. So, Dr. Kaiser?
If I could interrupt just briefly.
Yes.
We have Senator Hackworth as a representative here, Tom Lester, and he's just been a senator a few days, and Tom's just been on board probably less than that, I don't know how many days, but I did want to make sure that you got recognized as well.
Thank you. And I met Tom earlier, and I apologize, Tom. Like I say, there's so many here that I need to thank for being here and having an interest in what we're doing, so good to have you. Dr. Kaiser.
Thank you, Dr. Mullins, and to all of our guests, thank you for joining us today. You know, we're very excited to share the story of our journey and the efforts that have taken place to bring Starlink into Wise County to serve those 45 homes that Dr. Mullins mentioned. You know, some of these homes have multiple students in them, so, you know, we're serving closer to 100 students, you know, than just the 45 homes, and I think, you know, it's important that we talk more about getting students connected. You know, our path to Starlink started before a pandemic. You know, we knew the digital divide existed. I'd been serving on the Department of Education's leadership committee and was actually put in charge of what they call the homework gap, or the digital divide. It's called a lot of different things. And, you know, it would probably surprise folks to know that this is, you know, not a Southwest Virginia problem, not a rural problem. You know, sometimes you can be in a very connected area, you know, even around Richmond, you know, go just a few miles in a couple different directions and you can be without service at all. And so this is a infrastructure problem across the state. It's not just a problem for Southwest Virginia. You know, however, when the pandemic struck and we had to transition to virtual learning, the issue of connectivity, you know, came to the forefront, not only for us, but for everyone. And in the pre-pandemic state, you know, we were a school division that didn't send our devices home with students. You know, we were not one-to-one, as many people say, simply because we knew when our devices left our school, they were going to homes that didn't have internet access. And so, why send the devices home if the students aren't going to be able to use them and connect to the internet? So, when the pandemic struck, we knew those devices had to go home, and we had to serve students either connected or unconnected, you know, away from the school setting. So we quickly started looking at ways to provide that service by any means necessary. We did our surveys before the school year started and compared them to surveys that we had before, and we knew that around 25 to 30% of our students did not have internet access at home. What we quickly learned is that around 40% of our students truly didn't have adequate internet service for virtual learning. And that's where we really started seeing some issues. We had parents who were relying on mobile hotspots on their plans, and unlimited data doesn't mean unlimited speeds, throughout the month. And what they were finding was their overage charges or their connectivity rates were, dropping very quickly, and that usually about a week or maybe a week and a half into the month, we had families that were no longer connected because that mobile hotspot, had reached its limits where it couldn't stream the video and things that we needed to stream anymore. So, we began working immediately with service providers that were in our area, reaching out for a better solution for mobile hotspots. We were able to, connect with Verizon and get a deal that allowed us unlimited internet access through some hotspots with no rate limits, so they were wide open all month long to help us serve some students. Service providers were reaching out to all the homes that they could to help us get students connected, but we still had so many problems across the county of students having that adequate internet that they needed. And so we're talking about that very often in our school board meetings and other things, and then the clerk of the circuit court here in Wise County, Mr. Jack Kennedy, he reached out to me and said, Scott, I know that you all are looking to connect folks. Let's have a conversation. I've got an idea. And so we had a conversation, and I provided Mr. Kennedy with some addresses of students that we had who didn't have connectivity options, or that they were very limited in their options. And very quickly, that moved to a meeting between Dr. Mullins and our county administrator, Mr. Hatfield, and Jack Kennedy and myself to discuss moving forward and being serious about this. And it escalated very quickly. And so we were proud that we were offered the opportunity to provide internet access through the Starlink beta by SpaceX and get these homes connected now. Because, all those efforts that I mentioned before, we knew that broadband internet access is a priority for everyone. But we also know that broadband infrastructure takes time and money. And we didn't have the time. We had students already sitting at home in a pandemic being forced to learn virtually and not getting the experience that their peers who were connected were getting. So we quickly wanted to get folks connected by any means possible as quickly as we can. And the Starlink service from SpaceX bridged that gap for us. And as I mentioned, once we can get students connected, well, it just makes all the difference in the world in their online, in their virtual learning experience. Very quickly, this process started. We had the 45 homes that we were going to serve uploaded to SpaceX prior to our Christmas break on December the 20th. Got those uploaded, and early in January, when we returned from our winter break, we had those boxes that you see in the picture up there on the left, sitting and waiting on us, ready to go out to those homes to serve these students. And you see on display up here in the front, we've got one of the Starlink kits sitting up here. It's as easy as 1, 2, 3. You see the directions up here. This is all the equipment that it takes to deliver broadband internet service to folks who sometimes had no other option. And it's as easy, like I said, as 1, 2, 3. You set the dish, and they provide an app, which is the picture on the right, that you can look through to check your view of the sky for obstructions, and it helps you locate where that dish should be set, the receiver. And then you simply run the cable inside. There's 100 foot of cable there included, and you plug it in and let it do its work. The unit is heated, so when we had our snowfall and ice accumulations here in February, our students were able to learn without any disruption due to the weather, because it does have a heating element inside of it. But we got these installed. February the 1st was our contractual start date with SpaceX and the Starlink program. However, they did activate that early for us so that we could assist our families that needed it with the installations and get them set up. Every installation kind of had its own story. We had homes that had tried traditional satellite internet service that's available. And as a matter of fact, they had, the satellite dish is still there. There were 5 dishes when we went to install Starlink, because they had tried the traditional satellite services and couldn't download a document within 12 hours. And after installing Starlink and getting them connected at 125 megabits per second download speed, they were instantly able to stream video, 4K video. And so, you know, the connectivity is unquestionable. But we did warn folks along the way, because it is called the Better Than Nothing beta. And it's intended for those folks who have had no access previously, and that's who we targeted. You know, if we could serve you with a mobile hotspot that had unlimited data and no rate limits, we certainly try to provide that first. And then reserve these for those homes that needed this connectivity and couldn't get it otherwise. Up here in the top left corner, that particular dish was installed at a student at Central High School's home, and this young man was traveling from this location about 12 miles to our fire hall here in the town where he's a junior firefighter, so that he could have connectivity to connect, because he had tried traditional satellite service and he just could not connect, he could not get the experience that he needed. So he took advantage of being able to come to the fire department here in town and do that. And he told us that story when we went up there, you know, to get him connected, that now he didn't have to choose what days he drove to town to be part of the classroom experience. Now he can do it every day, because, you know, he was honest. He wasn't going to drive to the fire hall and spend 3 to 4 hours every day. And that's a lot of what we heard from many of our students and their parents. We did have those that sacrificed and went and sat in our parking lots or the library parking lots, you know, wherever public Wi-Fi was made available to them, they would sit there for hours. But there was those that were not going to do that. If it was not connectivity to the home, then it wasn't going to be effective for us, and that's where we bridged the gap. But, you know, we told them it's the Better Than Nothing beta, so they could expect a lot of, you know, potentially a lot of disconnections, because the speeds may vary and things, but we also told them that as more satellites are launched into low Earth orbit to support this system, that they would probably see that improve. And we have just been astounded with the type of service we've gotten. You know, we saw the speeds and greater speeds than what we were told we would get. Saw greater upload speeds than what we said we were going to get. And the drops that we have gotten are not long outages. It's, you know, the drops that we've gotten and been reported to us are simply just disconnect, reconnect every so often. So it's been very reliable, and it's gotten our students connected to the classes, which was our number one goal. I want to again reiterate that, you know, we needed a solution that got our students connected and got them connected now. And, you know, we hope that broadband infrastructure build-outs and things, that everyone continues their due diligence and their hard work and their efforts to make all that happen. You know, we're not in the business of competing with anyone for anything. You know, this solution was not sought after to replace existing internet service providers. We appreciate our internet service providers, and we hope they keep up the hard work. We hope that everyone keeps up the hard work and bringing broadband to every home. But every home deserves broadband. And if it takes connecting it via Starlink and SpaceX, you know, until that time comes, then we hope that we can continue to expand on this and do that as Starlink and service moves from beta to being out in the public. So, with that said, you know, a lot of words from Scott Kaiser this morning, but I want to share, you know, where hopefully it really hits on. We have a couple of the parents with us today who have benefited from this service, and I would like to just turn the floor over to them briefly and let them share their story with you on what Starlink has meant for their home. So I'm going to first ask Billy Martin. Billy, if you come up and share a little bit about your story with us.
Yeah, as Scott led in, we were one of the families fortunate enough to get on the beta program. It's been a game changer for us. I'm on my 3rd child in school without internet. We've been trying for years. We're not rural. We live on the side of 58. If you come in from Abington, my driveway actually connects to 58 to the end of the 4-lane. For broadband to be run, I think they quoted us $23,000 to run a quarter of a mile for broadband to be run. That's out of the question. That was out of our pocket. So our older 2 children moved on. Nobody wants to stay nowadays. There's nobody wants to stay where there's no internet. It's ridiculous. Our 3rd child, he's in middle school. When the pandemic hit, you know, it really did exacerbate the need. It was like, now what do we do? We struggled and we made it, but what do we do? So on Sundays, we didn't participate in any meetings or anything during the week. Sundays, instead of playing, we spent Sundays in the library parking lot doing homework, trying to catch up, just to get his work submitted by the end of the week. didn't have any other choice. I worked and my wife works. But, you know, I'm fortunate to work from home, so I was home with him, but he couldn't do his work. I think it's 2021. I think broadband internet is a necessity, similar to water and electricity, especially for kids. I mean, everything we do nowadays is linked to the internet somehow. I think it only gets more and more as they go through school. He's in 5th grade. When he gets to high school, he's going to have more assignments, more classes that require online access and research. I think Scott alluded to it, that better than nothing, it's been great. It's really a game changer. We did have a few of those disconnects first few weeks with speeds around 60 megabytes per second. I would say this week we're averaging more around 100, so up to 170 megabytes per second with the recent launches, and I have no disconnects this week. So for school children, advanced education, I think even future state, just to keep our youth here in this area, I think we have to provide broadband internet somehow. I work in IT, for Valley Health, all the emergency departments. It allows me to work from home. So that's job opportunities too, even beyond school. I mean, we're looking at job opportunities, and these kids can train and show an interest in it. Before we got access to home, he had no interest in internet because he didn't really know anything about it. So I just want to thank everybody for the opportunity to speak to you guys and for all the work and Scott and Jack and everybody's done to get in for us. It's really been there for children.
Thank you very much, Billy. And next with us is Brandon Short, who was also another parent that had reached out just after the pandemic hit. He'll tell you a little more about his story.
Appreciate y'all. I guess, my story was probably similar to Billy's. Lived in my address, actually lived beside my mom and dad. I lived there for 43 years now. My wife and I, we got married, moved there about 10, 11 years ago. And since that time, we have been trying our best to get internet service. In the beginning, we had a deal that said, yeah, we're going to come bring it to you. I'm 652 feet from my mom and dad's pole. Then Comcast bought them, and I said no. But over the last 10, 11 years, I've tried. My sister lives near me, right beside me, 300 feet to be honest. She's tried. Prices went basically from $15,000 to the most recent, which was back in February of last year, went down to $4,300. So we're going to do it. We're going to split the cost of it, go do it. Pick the phone up, they said, sorry, the order's already set, we can't do anything for you. So thank goodness for Scott and Jack too, but I reached out to Scott on a day that, I guess let me back up for a second. My wife had struggles. We're sitting at home, she's sitting at home one day with the kids. I got 2 kids, I got one in middle school, one in primary school, 6th and 3rd grade. And she had her phone out, doing a hotspot thing, and it got to be where they're both on at the same time, none of them's getting work done. I mean, flat out, none of them. So then you got to decide who's going to do the work first. So whenever whoever done the work first, basically use the phone hotspot. So the second one's sitting there all day long, buffering, not doing anything. So she got frustrated one day, so she called me at work, and she let me know that she wasn't happy. So then I immediately get on the computer. I'm starting to look around. I'm like, so who can I look to? What can I do? I found the email to the CEO for Comcast. It got me about 2 weeks worth of work, but nothing from there. I emailed everybody out. And emailed the school board here and the board supervisor and everything. That's when Scott reached out to me. And said that Herb Short came and brought him my email. So Scott was so gracious that she brought me a hotspot, a MiFi hotspot. So it worked great. Then you reach out to me on the Starlink, and my sister's had HughesNet before, and it really's not worth the money that you put into it. It really don't. So when I set the Starlink up, and it's as simple as he said, I'm telling you, I'm not the most computer savvy person, but you plug it up, you set the phone up, and it does it on time. I mean, it's as simple as that. And the first little bit, you did have some of those the searches that would drop and things like that. You have, my understanding is the satellite goes across the sky, goes across the orbit, it picks it up, once it loses it, then the satellite for the internet has to go back and find another satellite to pick it back up again. In the beginning, you may had, 30-second laws, 15-second laws, nothing bad. You still have those from time to time, but not too often at all. More and more satellites will go up there, it gets great. That is the only downfall, I'm gonna say, to that service. And as I said, the more and more satellites actually going up, the less and less that's gonna happen. And, my kids are now, when they're virtual learning day on Friday, or when a snow day is virtual, they did their work at the exact same time. They had if they both had a Google Meet, one had to skip that Google Meet and watch it later on. They both got to be on the Google Meet together. As he said about his son, Bill said about his son, he's able to be part of the class. He didn't have to sit out and wonder what they're doing or pick up on a video. Video is totally different than online. They participate. It's great. It's something that was I'm so blessed to actually have. Continuing on as broadband is a necessity, but I'm gonna tell you this is gonna work. I really think that I don't understand how, as you said, the 21st century, that we don't have internet service to everyone. You pick the phone up and you can go through just about any service, and you have cell phone service. And I'm 652 feet from my mom and dad who have Comcast, that I can't get Comcast myself, just because it's a dollar fee. So, but in closing, I really appreciate you all for helping me. Appreciate Scott and Jack stuff with the Starlink, and it's actually it's a game changer. So appreciate you.
Thank you, Brandon. There's 43 more stories like that out there, and that's what we're most thankful for. At the end of the day, again, our number one priority is connecting students now so that they get an equal opportunity to the education that we're providing to their peers during the pandemic. And as it was alluded to, we think now, virtual learning days will replace snow days. The reality is that we have always wanted to have the opportunity to connect our students so that learning didn't have to end at 3:30 when they left. So in closing, before I turn it over, I just want to say that, that's our goal now, is to have our students connected so that education doesn't end at 3:30 for students in Wise County, Southwest Virginia, and beyond. We want to see every student connected, whether they're in our county, our state, or in this country. They all deserve to be connected and continue that education. A lot of our educational experiences happen when we don't expect it, through our own searches and our own interests and seeking out those interests. And so, again, thank you all for being here today and listening to that. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to Don Purdy, who is the president of the Appalachian Council for Innovation.
Thank you, Dr. Kaiser. Thank you for being here, and all of the other distinguished guests and visitors. I am the president of the Appalachian Council for Innovation, formerly known as the Southwestern Virginia Technology Council. We had a renaissance in our organization about a year ago, realizing that technology is everywhere. Everybody's got technology in their pocket with their cell phone. But it's what you do with all this technology. That's the key. How do we innovate? How do we grow this technology in our region so that we can be better served in all of our aspects of our life? And listen to these stories of these people. I've had internet for a long time. I can't fathom how they survive. I mean, it's addictive. It really is. But the Appalachian Council is pleased to support this project and this effort to connect the students who are either underserved or unserved by the terrestrial fiber optic last mile internet providers. And because of the success of the beta test in Wise County, the council is embarking on an effort to raise capital through the public-private partnership so that we can expand the deployment of space-based internet for the last mile. Expanding this footprint, this service footprint, is for distance education is going to be crucial in rural areas. It's like they said earlier, it's going to close that 3-decade digital divide. And people in Southwestern Virginia and Central Appalachia are just doggone resilient people. When you think about what they went through to just go to the fire hall, go down wherever they had to go, sit in their cars on Sunday. Good grief, we are just very resilient people. And by golly, we can do things above and beyond what we think we can. And having digital broadband like this is another piece of that puzzle to help people, to grow our area and to improve our lot here. The next incremental phase, as I understand it, is 5 geographical locations serving Lee, Wise, and expanding on Wise, Russell, Dickinson, and Buchanan counties. And there will be a total of 60 connections in each of those geographical satellites. And so that's going to handle, probably 300 households, so we're looking at maybe 500 or 600 students to be served for that, which is about 10% of where we need to be in southwestern Virginia and in the VC region alone. Now, the phased development, of course, is going to give community leaders an opportunity to see how this works, trust the technology, see how it does help and improve the lives of the people in their communities. And as a result of that, while they're going through this next phase, ACI will be collaborating, trying to get raising capital so that we can continue to expand out this network. One of the unfortunate things is that we're in one of the lowest per capita income areas in the nation, and that's unfortunate. And we need to change that. And by golly, we can change that. And I think this is one of those pieces that puzzle can do that. It'll expand, give more people more opportunity. Young kids have minds that are just wide open and just gobbling up information like crazy. And now they're going to have access to even more information. They're going to be able to take that and make the next whatever that's going to do whatever it's going to do, because we don't know yet. Half of them that are in the first grade, probably the job that they're going to have when they graduate doesn't even exist yet. But they're going to help shape that. They will be learning about that. And I think that's just awesome what this is able to do. The elected leaders in southwestern Virginia especially, will thank all you guys for taking this plunge and going for it. This is really important stuff, and being out in the lead on this is really good stuff. Like they said, this is right now they're at 300 or 100 megabytes download, and they're thinking that by this time next year, be up to 300. Good grief. Anybody in here remember dial-up modems? Goodness. So again, this opportunity here is amazing in my head. I think this is just awesome. And the Appalachian Council for Innovation is, like I said, is proud to be a part of this. We want to help facilitate this, make this grow as quickly as we can, but not only just for educational purposes, but for telemedicine, for work at home, things like this, because that is a whole other market that we need to tap into. And as a council, we're going to help promote that as much as we possibly can. And I know there are geographical boundaries on maps that have nice little black lines, but those black lines need to be blurred, because we are in Appalachia and we need to reach out and handle our neighbor, help our neighbors as well. Because everybody suffers from this. It's not just a Wise County or Southwestern Virginia issue. It is a regional Appalachian issue. We need to help try to resolve that. So that's all I've got to say on that. But I would like to say that the Appalachian Council for Innovation, like I said, used to be the Southwestern Virginia Technology Council, and one of our strategies is to drive growth amongst businesses, connecting businesses with each other, because we are in a very large footprint, and it's really difficult for people in Lee County to know what's going on in Carroll County, for example. So we're going to help try to bridge that divide, and Starlink is yet another way to help bridge that divide. And also to work with school systems and education entities throughout the region, so that not only are they able to connect with their children, but also to understand what businesses need in the way of education for the kids, so that they can better serve as they come out of school. And with that, I'd like to turn it over, if I could, to Congressman Griffith. Congressman Griffith is from the 9th District, as we know, and he is really big on technology, which is a great thing for our region because we need that support. He serves on the committee that's over the FCC that actually handles the low Earth orbit satellites. Gee whiz, that's exactly what Starlink does. So Congressman Griffith, thank you very much, sir.
I'm so proud to be here with you all today to celebrate what's going on. I will tell you that serving on that committee, I've been telling folks for years, I wish it were today, but the technology's coming. There are those who would want to say that it should be a fight between fiber and low Earth orbit or other technologies. And as was said earlier, and I think it's good technology, but something's better than nothing. And the problem with fiber, and I'm all for it, we should continue to lay fiber. We should continue to have grants at the state and federal level that help us lay the fiber. That being said, to get to all the parts of Southwest Virginia, and we're not the only ones in the country with these issues, but we're one of the ones in central Appalachia, then you go out west and there are rural areas between here and there that have these problems. But if we're going to wait for every household to get that last 350 feet, we're going to be waiting for years, if not decades. And we have a technology today that is out there that can help us. Now, as time goes forward, there's going to be competition. That's one of the reasons there's a fight at the FCC about at what altitude your satellite is, because there's different companies. There's 2 or 3 of them out there. One will probably never compete here. That's a European company. But there are other companies. But I have to say, I was so excited when I heard about this project, and there were some grants across the 9th District. But to hear that you all were taking the lead and stepping out and actually making it happen and be first, that is so exciting as your representative. I can work on the policy that helps make sure this technology is out there, but to have you all taking the lead at the local level and making it work and showing us how it works, and of course hearing the stories, and I hear them all the time across the 9th District about families that are only 350 feet or 1,000 feet away from service, but they can't get it, it's too expensive. And to lay fiber costs a lot of money, and it's going to take a lot of grants and a lot of time to get it everywhere it needs to be. And we're working on ways to make that faster. The governor's office has done that in Grayson County, where they work with APCO to use their towers, and that's fine. But this technology is here now and can serve that student who's in middle school now, or that fire department that student who's driving down to the fire department can be served now. And it's great to want to wait for something if that's all you got. We got something. And I'm excited. The speeds are faster. So y'all taught me something. I thought the speeds were a little slower than that. The speeds are faster, and they will compete with a lot of the internet service providers who even have fiber. These speeds can compete. And the gentleman got it right. Everybody here is educated on this, so I'm taking coals to Newcastle, as they might say. Although we got a grant in Newcastle too. A different Newcastle, but we got a grant there. As they launch more and more of these satellites, the service is going to get stronger and better. And as we all know, as technology moves forward, more people are paying for it, and the money is starting to come in. They're going to find ways to do it better, and they're going to find ways to do it cheaper, which will make it even more affordable. It's a little pricey right now for a lot of families in Southwest Virginia. But as technology improves and they get the system deployed and the competition comes along, I think we'll see those prices come down a little bit and make it more competitive with the traditional internet service providers. And again, like you said, Doctor, not that I'm for one against another. I'm for all of them. And the more people who can be served, the better. And if somewhere down the road the competition leads to lower prices, that's fabulous. And when we have to start worrying about whether or not we're getting a little bit better speed out of this one or a little bit better price out of that one, that's nirvana. That we will have succeeded. But right now, there's so many families throughout Southwest Virginia who don't have anything. And it's not right. It is something today if we're going to go forward. And I will echo, telemedicine's a big issue that I work on as well. Our committee has jurisdiction over that also. This is going to help with that. You're going to be able to do things in your home and see your doctors on things that, obviously surgery is still going to have in hospitals. You're still going to have a relationship with your healthcare provider. But once you go in for that first treatment, there are going to be a lot of issues where you don't go back, you don't drive 20 miles, 30 miles or more to see the doctor again. You set up your appointment, you click the join the meeting. But I've learned all about that this year with you. Join the meeting. And that's great. And then there's also the work side. Now fiber is still superior, and probably will be, if you're doing industrial things or if you've got a bigger business. But if you want to launch you had the two students who moved away because they didn't want to live with the internet, they might also come up with an idea to start an internet business, and now they don't have to leave home to do it. They can start it right here, and it doesn't matter whether they're here or in Charlotte when you have this kind of service. You can start a startup, and you can get pretty far down the road with that when you have service like this available before you need to maybe go to a location where there's fiber. So there's lots of other technologies that are coming. This is the one that's here now and will serve the people of Southwest Virginia. And I am proud that I have a jurisdiction that stepped up and said, let's make it so. And I was excited to hear you're going to move out and raise some money and move into other counties. That's great too. And Starlink is deploying, and they will have more and more sites available. And so we've been in this tunnel waiting for broadband for rural areas of Appalachia for a long time, and finally we can see the light at the end of the tunnel. And that doesn't mean we favor one over another. It just means this one's bringing us to the end of that tunnel quicker. So this is the one we're going to use now where we need to. And if somebody has the grant money, whether it's the state or the federal government gets grant money, we get you fiber, that's even better. But let's make sure we're doing this. So I appreciate it, and I appreciate being invited to be here today. Really am excited about everything that's happening with this technology, but particularly we are changing the lives of all those students who now have the ability not to have to drive to the fire station to participate in class 1 or 2 times a week, who have the ability to deal with the technology, to move forward, to get the education they deserve, to have the virtual day instead of the snow day that I don't like that much. But in the long run, our kids are going to be so much better off because of this. And I'm excited and thrilled. And everybody at the local government, and Jack for pushing it, everybody deserves a lot of credit. And I'm glad that I was able to see the technology coming and help lay the pathway at the federal level. Nothing happens without support on the ground. And so thank you all for taking that leap and making it happen. I appreciate it.
Ladies and gentlemen, again, we certainly thank you for being with us today. And you know, from the time we first met with Mr. Hatfield and Jack, and as I've shared with a couple of you here today, if Jack is behind a project, you're going to roll with it about 1,000 miles an hour, and you're going to roll until that project gets to where he feels good about. We've reached a place of peace and completement. But I will say this, it has been for those families that have reached out to us, and I'll say this, I want to throw this out there. When we first got these kits in, and we had families that because of maybe some physical conditions and other reasons, our technology department donned their coveralls and went to many of these homes and did the installs, and certainly some of them were fairly simple, but some we climbed under, not we, our technology department crawled under some houses and down in basements and ran wires up through the floor and that kind of thing. And but just to hear from those families that said, look, it's not that we are underserved. We've never had anything. It's just not been possible here. And to see our children sitting at a desk in our home and being able to log on, take part in a class, has just been remarkable for us. And those are just, those types of stories, I think, is what makes this so important. And it's been mentioned many times. We think it's going to take the whole village and maybe many different approaches, but we certainly feel like this is one approach that gets us closer to where we need to be. And so, again, thank you for your interest. If you have questions, Dr. Kaiser, myself, any of our technology department, you can always reach out to us, email us, phone call us, come to the office. Because we've sort of ventured down this road and it's worked relatively well for us, perhaps if this is something that, as we begin to see it expand somewhat, that we might be of help to you, we'd certainly be glad to have a conversation with you. But again, thank you, and be safe, and help us expand Starlink for those families that need it. So have a great afternoon.
Councilman, tell me a little bit about why you drove all the way up here today. What's this all about?
Well, I mean, this is an exciting project that's being launched to provide broadband for a lot of areas that don't currently have it. Now, this one, of course, is dealing with the school system, but the technology that's available has the potential to get to places that will take us years and years and years to get fiber to.
Tell me a little bit about funding and what Congress or what you might want to do for them to help them out going forward.
Well, we have done some funding in some of the grant programs that we have to get this program started across the 9th district, so there are little spots here and there. And sometimes it gets interesting because obviously they're going to branch out. We spent like $32,000 for 4 houses in Craig County as well. So it's all over the 9th district. There's little spots here and there. But this is the major project where they're coming into the schools in an area that is clearly underserved and making sure that they can have service in combination with the local government and some federal money and obviously the money from the satellite provider. This is a big deal.
Speak a little bit about why you're
Well, I think particularly in the schools right now, the hybrid school system, and people are not always here, and some people, if the schools are open, don't want to come, and they need the ability to be able to do this on broadband. If you don't have that broadband capability in your school or outside your school, you're not able to participate in the same fashion that other students are able to participate in. The same thing's true of the community as a whole. And this is a great project. I'm a big fan of low orbit. There's a couple other companies, but Starlink is the first one to get into the area, and I'm excited about that. 2 other companies that are coming eventually, but they're not here yet. And look, there are people who say, wait, you should wait on fiber. And fiber's great, fiber's better, but fiber's not here. And it's going to take a long time to get every nook and cranny filled with fiber. And these systems that we're going to hear about today, and I'm going to learn more today, these systems are going to benefit today. Not 3 years from now, not 5 years from now, not 10 years from now, today. And that's what matters.
Anything else you want to say about it?
Well, I'm really excited. I appreciate the leadership here locally. Jack Kenny is always on the cutting edge of technology. Sometimes just a profile. In fact, this was the first courthouse that had its records online, that kind of thing, in all of Virginia. It wasn't Fairfax, it wasn't Loudon, it wasn't Fairfax City. It was Wise County. So, he does a great job on technology. He's recognized this is great technology. I recognize this is great technology that can bring broadband into areas that are underserved or unserved.
I know we're about to watch a presentation that'll give us a lot of information.
Yes.
But what would you like to see, or what is the actual?
Well, for me, it's to, and they're deploying every month more satellites, it's to get this service available to more people throughout the 9th district, because we have areas, at least 2 years ago, I had a constituent tell me they were still using dial-up to get to the internet. And it wasn't because they wanted to, it was because they had no other option. And so this would give people options. And it shouldn't be seen as a battle between satellite and fiber. It should be seen as a collaboration to make sure that everybody gets decent broadband coverage throughout the country. And Southwest Virginia, obviously, is one of those areas that is lag behind some of the others.
And just on that note, it's all about keeping the kids, letting them keep up with the other parts of the state and their education.
That's exactly right. I mean, in Fairfax, everybody just assumes they're going to have broadband. Down here, you're lucky if you've got it in your neighborhood or in a small community. You can go to the local library and use it. So having the schools hooked up first, showing the way, and then having other people come along. I'd like to see the price come down some for individual customers. But that will come with time and competition. So this is great technology, and this is a way to keep kids connected with their homework in their schools and provide programs that they might not be able to otherwise be able to give. That's where I would see it going over time.